Okay, so let's dive into this. First off, who are the Gov Geeks? Chances are you've seen a little bit of information and materials from us, but we're actually wonderful public servants, just like you guys. I, of course, am Javier Lopez, and my better half, Karen Lopez, is the part of the duo that makes up the Gov Geeks. Karen can be found at the Chic Gov Geek, and I can be found at Geek in Chief. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all of that sort of fun stuff. We started the Gov Geeks just about 5 years ago with this larger idea that if we could help individuals who are public servants or aspiring public servants do well in government, well, then that just means that the public benefits because it is then served by very excited, very engaged people, which really, at the end of the day, is what we want out of our government and our systems. So, just a quick background, we do government career coaching services. And the idea is being able to use our career coaching to help you play that important role that you have within government. The bigger thing is that we want you to be able to reach your full potential so that the public is able to have the best service possible. We do this, and hopefully you like the nice little symbol that we have here, the Captain America shield, similar to the one here. I am legally obligated to say that that is not a graphic representation of the shield. Just a nice example to kind of help you understand our illustration about how we go about our services. The bigger thing is that it's not just like resume writing or something that you can get just by someone filling out a form and sending it back to you. It's really about fulfillment. That's the main thing that we really care about. But anyhow, with all of that stuff said, let's move on. Now it's time for the show. This is certainly the sign that you've been looking for. I appreciate again everyone's engagement with this. If you could, please, in the chat, just let me know what your main goal or your objective is about why you've joined us today. Feel free also to come off mute if you wanted to answer that verbally rather than type in something. Goals, objectives. Um, I asked the question just to make sure that we're designing it and I'm addressing all of the points that you really care about. All right, so learn how to navigate jobs through USA Jobs. Awesome. Understand government transitions. Thank you so much, Rita. I appreciate that. That totally makes sense. So we're going to go through a couple of those, and let me make sure I take some notes down here as well to make sure I can come back to that. And then the second one here about government transitions. Excellent. Along the way, if there are additional questions that you all have, please feel free to throw them into the chat. I'm happy to address everything as we go along as well. Okay, so Javier, you put in getting a job after the federal internship and having a federal resume ready. Absolutely. Okay. And Jahi, thank you. Understanding the transition into government jobs as well as the benefits. Excellent. So I'm going to circle back to these questions as we're moving along. Thank you so much for sharing them as well. The bigger idea that we're trying to address with all of this is, well, what are the real key steps to understanding how to move through government when we're thinking about a government career transition, getting career clarity and what that looks like. So Stavina, understanding the grade levels in government. Okay, happy to add that too. Grade levels. That is a fun topic. I can definitely say right off the top, the higher the better. Well, no, I guess it actually depends on really what your passions are and what you care about. There's a different set of requirements that you would have at different levels, but at the end of the day, the higher the grade, the higher the number, the higher the salary as well. And that is obviously a really big bonus to having a lot of engagement in the federal workplace. Okay, good. So as we go through this, if you all could please have a sheet of paper, one to take notes, but on the other hand, also we're going to do a couple of exercises as we're piecing some of these things together. So when we created this idea about a successful transition in government or into government, We wanted it to be something that could help provide some clear guidance as to how really to have fulfillment in the public space rather than, here's 5 quick resume tips for you to write. We have a great couple of series on LinkedIn on resume writing, on interviews, and soon we're going to begin one on networking as well. So some of those details may be of value. I should also mention that we have free resources on our website as well. If you go to thegovgeeks.com and you sign up for our community newsletter, you can get a template, a solid resume template that we use in our coaching services, and use that to modify your resume for government standards. Also, we have links available as part of an online course that comes free as well. And this course is presented by Karen and myself, where we go through like step by step how to design the resume. So this is certainly something that we'd like for you to take advantage of as well. So just to be better safe than sorry, there's more resources that are available with all of that. Okay, so here we go. Carl Jung has this really great concept. He says, overall, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. So if you're in the position where you're thinking, okay, well, this is a career that I want to do this. Well, is that what you say that you're going to do, or is that actually what you are doing? And it's a wonderful thing because you can embody whatever that goal is right away. This is how you are working towards accomplishing something in that field, getting experience, volunteering, even giving different positions, contract positions, temporary positions, full-time positions related to all of that. You can embody what it is that you want to do as a way to kind of say, you are what you do. You are this person. And here's a bigger question for you to think about as we begin this conversation. The first is really, who are you? Not necessarily, again, what you say you will do. I will apply, I will become, I will get this job. But really, who are you in this process? So hold on to that mental footnote, and let's see if we can begin to address that. This is, again, part of the mindset that we're trying to create as part of gaining career clarity. So with that, here's a couple of things. Looking at 3 steps to a successful government career transition. The 3 steps are as follows. The first one is honestly just knowing what it is that you want, being very clear on what that looks like for you. You could have the next great job, the next great opportunity, you move into that, but if you really weren't getting what you wanted from it, well, then you're just going to run into more issues or concerns in this new job. It doesn't matter how great the position is, eventually it would begin to wear on you. The second is really know how to get there. If you're going to plan for a journey, you're going to know exactly what steps you're going to take to get there. What is the best route? What are the actions, the activities that you need to do? This is a lot of the planning stages, how to know for sure that you are ready for that action and that next step. And then lastly, it's all about putting one foot in front of the other and just building that future. So these seem like pretty basic, pretty standard things. It's like, all right, well, I know what I want. I want a job. I know how to get there. Well, heck, that's why I'm here. Like, tell me how to do this and build your future. Yeah, I would totally do that if I knew exactly what the steps were, if I knew how to actually go about doing this. Well, that's how we're going to kind of build these pieces together. We're going to dive into a little bit more of these things. This is the larger getting career clarity. And then we're going to talk more strategies in each of these areas so we can build out exactly what these look like for you. Okay, so this first concept, really knowing what you want. The biggest thing is to start with why. Simon Sinek had this really great concept where he said people buy why you do something, not what you do. You could have a lot of technical aspects in your resume, that you can process certain things, or you can do analysis, or you have a lot of degrees. That's a lot of the what. It's a lot of the technical stuff. But you need to really convey why you do what you do, why the impact is there. And it's not like, well, I do all of that stuff so I can get a paycheck. Well, I mean, obviously everyone works for that type of an object. I mean, all need funds for our student loans, our mortgages, our responsibilities, all of that stuff. But we can get money from a lot of places. Why is it that you are a good fit for that individual job or that individual role? Those are the most important things for us to really kind of dive into. So there's four questions that you really need to be asking yourself as you go about building out what your why is. The first thing is make sure that you are leaving for the right reasons. If you have, for instance, a terrible boss, a terrible environment, a terrible commute, there's all of these negative things that are there. Well, getting away from all of that is obviously a good thing. But in addition to that, it should be something a little bit more than that. Like, well, why is it that you want to leave those things? It's really more about what is focused inwards for yourself. This is especially important when it comes to government jobs. And the reason is it takes a long time in order to get that next job. I mean, by and large, there are some areas where there's some exceptions to that, but really, at the end of the day, it is something that takes a little bit of time. It can last anywhere between 3 to 6 months or longer for you to hear back, for you to get the interview, for you to begin the negotiations process. It just takes a little bit. So if you are focused on why you care so much about what that work is, that time is going to go by so much more quickly and easily. And also, it's going to be less of a chore because you actually care about everything that's going on. You're willing to do the extra volunteer work, getting the extra experiences, have the informational interviews, revise your resume for the 10th or the 15th time, tweak things based upon job announcements, all of that stuff. You will continue to be pulled forward because that's something that you really care about. So you have to leave for the right reasons. Next, honestly, is just really aspire to work that makes you happy. And this is an interesting kind of like pie in the sky thought or the idea. But if you think about it, there are plenty of things that you do that would make you happy. And they could be entirely boring for some people and really exciting for others. For instance, the idea about, well, how do you build out puzzles? How do you solve issues or problems or concerns? For one person, that could be seen as something that's like tedious, frustrating, boring. And another person, oh, wow, it is just the best thing. Like they can lose themselves in understanding how a process works, how to format and find meaning out of data in Excel sheets, or really have good connections and conversations with people that allow a good progress on a program. Really ask yourself, what are the things that make you happy? That we're starting with the why at the and just how we showed the shield a little while ago, we're starting in the middle, the very core of who you are as a person and what you really care about. So the next thing to do is to find the right job title that is related to that. And I'll go to a couple of the examples here and some of the questions that we had earlier. So the first one was on using USA Jobs and how to find USA Jobs. One of the best things that you can do in going through and using USA Jobs is the title search. So if you know what the job title works for you, like could it be a program analyst, program manager, program specialist? It could be it's something that is law enforcement related, for instance. Whatever the topic is, when you search, you'll then get the results back that can tell you in general in what direction you should focus what the job title looks like. Take a little bit of time to do some research and find out, well, what really is resonating with you. Look at the job descriptions, look at the duties that would be assigned for the individual who gets that position. Once you have all of those pieces, you're then able to understand, well, really what that position is going to look like. Then you can begin to narrow down a little bit more closely what the jobs are that you care about. So when you apply for the jobs, you're actually applying for things that you care about. It's all about finding the right job title. The other thing you can do in USA Jobs is to also look at what feedback you're getting in the way of the search results. So, are there lots of senior level positions or are there a lot of entry level positions? Depending on where you are in your career, you could tailor your job title search based upon that information. If you're finding that a lot of the positions are available for you, which is great, but a lot of them, unfortunately, are in a different part of the country or a different part of the world, well, that's also good feedback for you to understand. I mean, you should know, well, what decisions do I need to make in order for me to be comfortable with this work? Do I need to move away if I really care about this? Also, look at the salary levels. Are you seeing that there is a lot of growth area in this, or are there only a couple of areas that are kind of like capped off? We work with in the Gov Geeks a lot of very awesome professionals, and a lot of them have just tremendous education and training. But unfortunately, it gets to a point where there's only so much that you can be paid to do the work that you're looking to do. So if at one point you're really excited to say, I want this job, I want to get, more of these opportunities here to get paid more, well, unfortunately, there's only so much that really that they're going to pay. So find the right job title, really circle in. Um, and to go back real quick and talk through the larger question about grade levels in government, that's really another section as well. So entry level jobs, depending on where you are in your degrees that you've earned, associates, undergrad, graduate school, et cetera, or if you are transitioning and you are still in school, or you're even in a position where you don't have a graduate education at this point, typically, you can earn a GS5 or a GS7 by having a bachelor's degree and not much experience. From there, a GS7 to a GS9 is roughly the ballpark that you can expect when you have a undergraduate degree and some work experience as well. If you have a advanced degree or a doctoral degree, that is typically around the GS13 level. So depending again where you are with education and training and experience, that's reasonably where you can expect to get. Also, the salary is going to vary depending on the type of work, but also the location where the work is done because of locality pay adjustments. DC, for instance, has a decent one. New York has a higher one. And I think tied pretty closely to New York is San Francisco. Those are both really high income areas to live in. So government has to make adjustments to really allow for people to succeed really well in those areas and still be able to, make a living. So using that information is going to help you. This is all part of the background research. But the bigger thing again is asking yourself really the why about all of this. So once you have this kind of like picture in your mind, it's important to then adjust your expectations. If you're willing to say, I'm passionate about this work, this is really what I care about, okay, then you're going to be willing to make the move or earn less overall in order to do that type of work. Or perhaps if you are saying, I really need to make more money, but I'm really passionate about one item or the other, there's going to be a trade off. And as long as you are realistic with yourself and knowing what is available and what you're willing to do, that is your why. And that's a big thing because then later on you won't get frustrated with yourself, frustrated about your progress, thinking that you need to have more at this stage and in terms of either where you are in your career or how many jobs that are available for you. It's just a way to manage things. Because at the end of the day, we are all responsible for our own careers. A supervisor can't make us happy. The work itself, sure, there's a lot of joy and satisfaction in it, but it is how we control ourselves in response to the job, the environment that really counts. So if we want to make the decision to move outside of that, that is the why that is important for us. So I mentioned a little while ago about having some notes. Here's the first exercise. Now to begin, in the sheet of paper, all you have to do is just draw a line straight down the middle, and there's going to be three sets of questions that we're going to ask. One set of answers goes on the left, and the other one goes on the right. All right. So to begin, on the left-hand side, answer this question. Really, what is it that you want? Do you want more salary? Do you want job flexibility? Do you want entry into that one job field or area? What is the main driving force about what you care about? To be honest, for me, when I answer that question, I really want autonomy. I want to be able to know that I could do the work that makes me happy, but doing it in a way that I feel is most appropriate, allowing me to be able to be the agent of change rather than being directed or micromanaged in order to get to that. So start that on the left-hand side. The next question to ask yourself is really, what don't you want? What are you willing not to tolerate? There's a lot of stuff that we put up with in our lives. I mean, there's traffic, there's, a lot of congestion issues and concerns. There's bills, there's certain people in our lives that, yeah, we got to tolerate them a little bit more because, they're friends with this person or this person is related to that person. But at the end of the day, when it comes to your career, what is it that you don't want? Do you not want to have again, micromanaging boss? Do you not want to have a low salary or low benefits? Do you not want to have student debt? I mean, whatever it is, write down on that side what it is that you will not tolerate. What don't you want? And think of this lovely concept here of there with the balloons. I mean, just having this degree of happiness. What is your why? That is the bigger thing. Once you're done with that, circle the one that is most important to you for what you do want, and circle what is most important for what you don't want. Then ask yourself a simple question: what is it that you are willing to do to make sure that you get what you want and avoid what you don't want? Take a second and just work on that. Okay. So now on the right hand side, list your commitments. I mean, heck, be honest. What is important to you? What do you need? Do you need to be able to have a certain monthly income that you definitely have to meet because of commitments with family, with friends, with childcare, all of that sort of stuff? Okay, so if you know that you have that, then how can you work around all of that to make things work? In DC, I've had the chance to work with some folks that, oh my gosh, really interesting. I mean, to have the chance to work on Capitol Hill, for instance, people are taking unpaid positions and they're sleeping in their friends' closets just to kind of have the chance to commute back and forth to get to work, to have all of that stuff. Other people, they have their established homes, all of that sort of stuff. And then they take a step back and they say, you know what? This means more to me. We're going to sell the home, sell the car, whatever it is, downsize to a lower cost of living, and then take whatever additional income that they had and use that for other things, projects, resume writing, whatever for a business. If they're trying to grow something and they need the funds to be able to manage all of that, what are the things that you could make a decision to move out from, you know, but still make those baseline commitments? So while we're looking at that, one of the questions was on government transitions in general. So the bigger thing is when you leave from one industry, say it could be education, nonprofit, it could be another part of government, and you're transitioning into that new role, having a good understanding about what your path is and what that position looks like is super important. So, as part of the process, when you're doing your networking, you can ask simple questions like, "What's the work-life culture there? Do people, respect boundaries a whole lot, or are they always on the phone at Sunday evening? Do they have to do extra projects, or every time that there's a phone call, do they have to answer it, even though they needed to take leave to take their family to the doctor's appointment, or heck, even just to sit there and stare at the wall and just relax for a little bit? Is the expectation that someone is always going to be there to answer the phone? What does that look like? You can also ask questions during the interview to understand a good government transition. For instance, you can ask, what is the best quality that you have seen in successful people that work on your team? Ask a hiring manager that. They can say stuff like, oh, well, hardworking, someone that is always available to answer the questions, someone that's able to, and they give a description about a person that you could see as working hard, working late, doing extra stuff outside of job duties, you know? And if that is contradictory to what they were saying earlier about, oh, we have like good work-life balance, and you can turn off your phone when you leave the office and you don't have to check on stuff. And then they give an answer like that, maybe there's something there that you need to consider. You know, those are the sorts of things. You can even ask other open-ended questions like, I noticed on your website that this accomplishment had occurred. That sounds fantastic. What do you think were the key attributes to the team being able to do that? And if, again, the key attributes are, oh, they put in a lot of hard work and a lot of late nights and a lot of all of this stuff. Or maybe they say, it was great project planning. They were able to manage their 9 to 5 responsibilities. Everyone was still able to get home, see their families, but they managed it in a way that was helpful for them. So that helps with kind of the government transition. And this also, by the way, is part of how we can go about conducting a gap analysis. What are the things that you are seeing that people would like to do in these new roles? And what is it that people actually do in those type of roles? Know what it looks like before you actually take the leap to get to that point. Okay, so we're on step 2 so far, and hopefully so far you have a column on the left, a column on the right. Now look at those resources. Consider to yourself, how can you work with those resources to help you make a decision that is meaningful for you? What is the thing that you're willing to leverage the most? And on the other side, on the commitments, you may have what is called a limiting belief. This idea that you believe that that is a solid commitment. But if you ask yourself more deep and honest questions, is this really a commitment that I have? Is this an expectation that I have of myself or another person has of me? Is it a realistic expectation for me to hold on to? What would it look like if I could imagine myself outside of that requirement? For instance, you could, as part of the reflection exercise, to know how to get there, is to really ask yourself something, what we call a miracle question. Say, for instance, you go to sleep, you wake up the next day, and somewhere along the process, a miracle happened. Something changed phenomenally. Whatever the issue was is now gone. Then reflect back and think, if it is something about your commitments, what if you didn't have that commitment? What does that new life look like? How possible is it for you to use your resources to live your why if you were able to remove whatever that commitment was? Is it actually a commitment, or is it just a belief that it is a commitment? Is it just an assumption that you have to follow through with that? These are some bigger questions to ask yourself. Now, here we are. We're like 40 minutes into our discussion of all of this stuff. I haven't said the word resume really. I haven't talked about application strategies. I haven't talked about all those nuts and bolts things that a lot of times we think are the automatic go-to things that we need in order to make a transition in our careers. It's like, oh, yeah, like I had another bad meeting with my boss. That's it. Time to break out that resume. Time for me to go out and get back on LinkedIn. This is intentionally after the fact because we're figuring out the why and then the how. Those are the 2 most important components for us to really have a good transition from one to the next. So the next question here is on federal resumes, and let's go ahead and get into that with our third strategy that we have, our third secret that we have. So building your future. The most beautiful thing is honestly to enjoy the journey. If you are doing something that you're really passionate about and it's something that you really care about, it doesn't matter to you how challenging or of a concern it is, because you honestly enjoy what the work is. Enjoying your journey is the most important thing. So again, when we're going back to the why is this work important to me? Why do I care so much about doing this thing, this activity? How is my fulfillment doing this really driving my happiness? It's been said a lot of times that the reward for good work is more work. And, if you look at that from one perspective, you can think, oh, more work? Why do I even want that? That's terrible. That's just more work. But if you aligned yourself with things that you really care about and you're getting more of that, it's like, yeah, the jackpot. I get to do this again. Uh, I mean, really, have you guys heard of stories where people say stuff like, I can't believe I get paid to do this. I get paid to draw. I get paid to solve problems. I get paid to have conversations with people. I get paid to make the world a better place. Whatever it is, for them, they're so happy with all of that. Enjoying the journey is really how to go about that. So, build your future by building your resume. So there was a great question about federal resumes in general. There is a huge gap between private sector resumes and public sector resumes. Again, this is something that we have a 9-part series on LinkedIn. Please feel free to go check it out. It's also on our YouTube channel, YouTube/the Gov Geeks. Please feel free to subscribe. Make a nice little plug for that there. But all of the information is there for a lot of the technical stuff. But what I mean about the differences between the two, a federal resume can be between 3 to 5 pages. A private sector typically is 1 page. The private sector resume is going to talk a lot about what tasks or activities do you do so that a hiring manager can say one for one, they did this type of work there, they can do this type of work here. The government resume is more values based. Well, what were the actions, the activities that you did, and how is it that that made an impact on the organization? Did you conduct an analysis? Did you save money? Did you improve a process or procedure? Did you improve efficiencies, capabilities? Were you able to deliver on the mission of the organization? What was the impact that the organization had as a result of your work? These are some of the bigger things. And again, the resume template that we have on our website by signing up for our community has all of this stuff, step by step, how to go through everything. The other thing in building your resume, there's the physical process of creating the resume. You break out Office Word and you start typing in Microsoft Word, typing it up. But also think, what other components can I add to my resume? Can I do volunteer experience? Can I volunteer for professional societies or associations? Can I be a chapter president, a chapter vice president? Do I get to do the work assignments that allow me to really grow in that area? Like one of the things that Karen and I are going to talk about on Thursday is this idea about other duties as assigned. So your boss continues to give you more stuff. They're not going to pay you more. It's just other duties as assigned. But a good way of looking at it is, this is fantastic. I'm getting more of the stuff that I need in order to do the job that I want as a next step. Because maybe you want the type of job that your boss has. And if the boss is giving you work that they should be doing, then heck yeah, you're demonstrating that you've got the qualifications to do that work. So build your resume, add all of that stuff in there, add those accomplishments. Yeah, I mean, you're doing the work, so why not get credit for all of that stuff? And then even though you're not going to get paid for that now, you're going to get paid for that when you're in that next job as well. Plus, at the same time, if you're doing stuff that you really care about, then there you go. It's all about that because you're connecting with the things that you really care about. Build your resume. The next thing, build your network. Now, it isn't like, oh gosh, go to a networking reception and you have to sit there and you fake a smile and share business cards and all of that stuff, be uncomfortable. That's certainly not what I'm talking about. By network, I mean, who are the individuals, your professional relationships, your personal relationships that you can speak with that can help you understand what it is that you need to do that you aren't doing. Or perhaps what are the things that you're doing that you don't even recognize is so great that there's so much value behind what you're doing. Sometimes we might not give ourselves as much credit as we deserve because we feel, oh, it's nothing. And, I'm able to do this or that. And I just happen to be in the right place at the right time. Whereas you could say, yeah, I'm great at this. I'm able to do that. How could I learn how to do more? With whom can I speak to understand how this could be useful for another organization? How can I do this in another area to have additional happiness? That's really what that network is about. Having those conversations, doing informational interviews, not necessarily picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, do you know of a job?" But rather saying questions like, "I really appreciate how you do this. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you do it? I saw that your organization had this accomplishment. That's fantastic. I'd like to learn more about it. Is there anyone that you could recommend that I speak with to learn a little bit more? Or I have a real big passion for this. I'm working on this project, and I know this is something that you've worked with before. Do you think maybe you could spare a couple of minutes and we can have a Zoom conversation or a cup of coffee to talk through all of that? I'd really like to pick your brain about how you were able to do that stuff." That's the networking that I'm talking about. Build that. And again, if you're talking about things that you care about, that enthusiasm is going to be there because you're going to be careful and caring about the things that you really want to do. And it's more fun because you're working towards the why, not like, here's more work that I have to do. Build your experiences. So look at areas where you can volunteer for work projects, volunteer, things like that. For instance, a lot of times in government, you can be there and all of a sudden an email pops up. They need detailees. They need people to volunteer to work on this project or that project. Well, take them up on that opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of times where there's different front office or headquarters level details and other areas of responsibilities. Go for that. If your supervisor says no, then you can think, all right, well, how else can I find that experience? What else is available to me? Can you read articles? Can you write articles for other organizations, for newsletters? Can you volunteer for, again, professional societies or associations? Is there something in your neighborhood that you can volunteer for? A lot of project management and program management can be found in like homeowners associations, your church, your personal societies and friendships that you have that you want to integrate your work and your passion into. That's certainly where a lot of that is available. More often than not, there are things that we have that perhaps we don't recognize that we have. Maybe you can list some of these in those resources sections and really take advantage of it. So the next thing also is honestly, it's just building your dreams because once you are in the mode of building these concepts, these activities, you are going towards the things that you care about. You're pulling yourself towards these activities because then you become more opportunity focused. You're like, "Ooh, I see this activity. I can be involved and I can do this." Or, "Hey, there's this activity over here. I think that I can be a great value. I'm going to reach out to them and see if there's something that I can do to help or to volunteer my time and my services to that." All of those opportunities align with what you care about, therefore aligns with really your dreams and your happiness. And like I mentioned earlier, the reward for good work is more work. You get to do more of the great things that you care about. Then from there, you sit back and you're like, "My God, this is crazy. I cannot believe I get paid to do this sort of stuff." Well, that's because you've become known for it. You've built up your expertise in that area and you've got the passion to go after it, regardless of, it's just another job posting or something that you have. No, I mean, you're going towards the things that you really want to do. So there was a good question about government jobs and benefits as we're transitioning into all of that. One of the great things about all of this for feds, um, how far back should you include your experience on the resume? Thank you so much, Veronica. And also my colleague from the CDC, I don't know the name because of the email, but I appreciate you. I recognize you. Thank you so much for your comments in the chat. It's fantastic. So the question, how far back should you go in including experience in the resume? So you should go back at least 10 years, but you can go back even more than that. And here's how to do it. The first section of your resume should be all about the most recent experience that you had. You're going to dedicate a lot of time to writing that up because that is the most recent one. Then you're going to go back about 10 years and add in a lot of the work experiences that you had. For work that happens, further than those 10 years, you still want to include them, but you can write up a select value added work or prior executive experiences or positions. And then you just write in like the same information as you have on a federal resume, the dates, the title, the organization that you work with, a supervisor, salary, the grade level, all of that sort of stuff. And then write a brief description about the work that you had done there or like a big accomplishment that you had done. Do that for all of the different jobs that you've had, because at the top part and the summary and profile, then you get to say 30-year expert in XYZ activities, or 25 years of experience working in leadership, something like that. You're documenting all of that stuff in the resume. And the question about government jobs and benefits in general, there are so many great benefits. You're welcome, Veronica. So many great benefits. Retirement, dental, medical, eye care. You have sick leave. You have annual leave. You have other types of leave that it can become in the form of like an award that you get either for a good work on a project or something that happens at the end of the performance period, and you get that. You also may be able to get bonuses as well. There's also a lot of safety when it comes to working in government. For instance, if you're in a position that can be unionized, there are certainly unions in government as well. There are so many great benefits in government. It's really tough to kind of list them all out, but yeah, it's wonderful. One of the things that I like is if you work 25 years in government, you can be eligible for retirement. Now, regardless of your age, if you work the 25 years, it's something that's available for you. And this is under FERS, the Federal Employees Retirement Service. Um, so, I mean, you can think about that as an option for you. There's others to consider. Please work with your colleagues in HR and human capital with those specific questions. If you have questions about those when you were applying for the position, look at their websites, talk to the HR POC to better understand really what is available for you. As part of your negotiation process, you can talk about paying for your student loans, relocation to and from wherever you're moving to in order to do the work. You can even get recruitment incentives. When you're in government, say you get another job offer, you can take that job offer to your supervisor in HR and say, this is a fantastic opportunity for me, but I'd really like to stay here. Is there anything possibly that you can do to help me stay? Maybe they can give you additional bonuses or step increases to essentially get paid more in your salary. There's a lot of workable options that are available to you. So yeah, maybe we should do a separate video just on like benefits of working in government. Okay, so looking back at your piece of paper for your two columns, left and the right, here's the exercise for this one. On the left-hand column, honestly ask yourself, what are your desires? And at the very beginning, I asked, like, what is it that you want? And I'm willing to bet at that time, there was a lot of stuff like, I want a salary or I want this type of work experience. But really, what is it that you want to do? What are like the desires that you have for that type of work? Why is it that that work is going to give you that type of fulfillment? What are the desires? So take a second and write that out on the left-hand side, as many as you can think of. Okay. So now the next, on the right-hand side, ask yourself, what are your limitations? So if we're talking about what the journey is and enjoying the journey and building the growth, maybe you're saying, yeah, I'd like to build my resume, but I just don't know how. Or I'd like to pay for resume writing services, but I think that that's too expensive. I'd like to build my network and talk to people, but I really don't like to talk to people. I don't like to do outreach. That kind of like scares me. Build your experiences. Well, I already have a lot of work as it is, and I've got this other thing that I'm supposed to do, and I have my weekends for this or for that, and I can't really do more outside of all of that. Build your dreams. I mean, the picture here I think is wonderful because it is an engineered design of like a mountain. And step by step, block by block, you can build things that you really love and have a lot of genuine passion and excitement for. Building your future is what it's all about. So look at those two columns between them. And this is what it brings us to this next point. All right, so take a moment, place the piece of paper down in front of you, and look really at your list. Look at the left-hand side and then look at the right-hand side. As you're considering this, compare the list and ask yourself, which side is longer? The left-hand side about really what you care about what you want, about your passions, about your goals or your desires? Or is it the right side? Is it the limitations? Is it the concerns? It is the things that are kind of like you feel that you have to do that are kind of really sticking out for you. If the left-hand side of the list is bigger, you are already building that momentum towards what you really care about in that growth in that area. And that really, at the end of the day, is the steps for a successful government career transition because you care so passionately about them that you're willing to do what you need to do in order to accomplish them because that's where your happiness is. And you're willing to move away from all of the stuff that is realistically there, but also holding you back. And here's why this is important. Here's the next big kicker of a thing. It's this idea. When the pull of what you want is greater than the gravity of your reality, you'll begin to fly. And think about some people that you perhaps have known in your life. And this isn't just like me talking. You may have known people like this. They're just like happy all the time. And you're looking at them just like, why are you so happy? What is it that you're doing? How can you feel so good about doing this type of stuff? Maybe there's a degree of happiness that they find in that because happiness at the end of the day is a choice. We have within ourselves the ability to make the decision to say, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want. This is what I'm willing to tolerate and put up with. This is definitely what I'm not willing to tolerate and put up with. It's this idea, again, that the gravity can be overcome by what you care about so much. Karen and I, so we moved here maybe about 16, 17 years ago now to DC, just because we had this idea about working in government, that we wanted to do something. And it was crazy. I have to admit, looking back on it, it was almost a little terrifying. We left family, we left everything that we owned. We pretty much sold everything just to give it a shot, just to see what that is. And I'm not saying that, our life is all of that wonderful or that we've been able to be such role models or anything like that. No, it's totally nothing about that. What it is having the joy about having a degree of fulfillment around what you care about. Think about it. Is this something that you care about? Is this something really that you want? And if it is, isn't it something that's worth moving forward for? That's something of a thought to kind of resonate with you, hopefully, there for a bit. So going back and asking ourselves a question, from Carl Jung, this idea that you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. So ask yourself a question, what have I learned about myself? Looking at your list, what you care about, what your passions are. And then on top of that, really, how will you use what you've learned about yourself today to become who you want to become, to follow a path or a journey that you really care about? When you're able to do that, then you're able to make a successful transition to a government career position or moving from one organization to the other because you're caring about what it is that you're doing and you're growing towards that next beautiful thing. So I really appreciate everyone and your engagement. Looking at the time, it's a little after 7 o'clock. Please feel free to connect with us. We have every Thursday on LinkedIn or every Thursday on YouTube, we do a live show. It's Gov Geeks Assemble. And now actually we're going to be broadcasting it live on LinkedIn as well. So please feel free to follow us for all of that. Head on out to the govgeeks.com. We have plenty of resources and materials there. All of the videos that we record are also published there for your use. Feel free to reach out to us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever your areas are. You can also send us an email at info@thegovgeeks.com. Feel free, if you have your phone available, you can scan the barcode and join what we call the Gov Geekdom. Join our mail list essentially to get updates about all the stuff that we've got going on, events, presentations, materials, all of that sort of stuff.